Today's episode is all about you. We're talking health and wellness for home educating mums. Hey friend, welcome to the Flexi Mum Life podcast, where we chat flexible learning, parenting, wellness, and all the muddy, magical bits in between. I'm SJ, former teacher, personal trainer, farmer's wife, and flexi schooling mum, living the wild and wonderful countryside life. To keep up with all the chaos, I start my day with my favourite wellness pick-me-up, a raspberry energy fizz stick. It's packed with B vitamins, natural caffeine, and a fizzy little lift that keeps me going. Fancy trying them? You'll find a special listener discount in the show notes. Now grab your cuppa or energy fizz and let's dive into today's episode. Hey friends, so today we are back into talking about health and wellness. This is definitely my love, my passion is encouraging really busy women like you to make sure that you are looking after yourself. So we are talking about wellness tips for home educating mums. Now, if this is your first time here, hi, I'm SJ. I'm a teacher, a former teacher, a flexi schooling mum, and someone who knows really firsthand how demanding home education can be, full stop. And I want to make today's episode really all about you because let's be honest, you are the one who is making the lesson plans, you're organising the activities, you're managing life. You might even have some kind of like part-time job as well. So who's looking after you, my friend? And that's what we want to talk today. So I'm going to share some wellness tips specifically for home educating mums. You might be a flexi schooling mum like me, because you absolutely deserve to feel healthy, to feel focused, and feel nice and energized as well. So first of all, let's talk about your health as actually part of the curriculum. Now, on Friday's episode coming, I'm talking about like what our kids are learning and how they're learning, and I'm talking about curriculums. But I think it's important before we kind of dig into that sort of thing is actually to remember that as a home educating parent, your well-being really isn't separate from your child's education. It's a really key part of it. And why is that? Because when you're burnt out, if you're stressed, if you're running on empty, it's going to impact everything. It's going to impact your patience, it's going to impact your clarity, and it's actually going to impact your ability to be present and show up. And we know, like our kids, they pick up on the energy that we have. My daughter Chloe, she very much will pick up on my energy, my mood, my feelings. So I want you to remember that actually giving yourself permission to take care of your health really is not selfish. As a home education parent, it's absolutely essential. And we teach our children by example. It's one of the reasons why we home educate or why we flexi school. And when our children see us making time to rest, to move, and to nourish themselves, we really are modeling this approach of lifelong care. Now, I have got 6 really practical wellness tips for you. We're all about practicality on this podcast. Sometimes we have some really big in-depth discussions, but sometimes like today, I want you to walk away from listening to this episode feeling like you have gained something, and I would love for you to try one of these tips and come and tell me about it, maybe over on social media, maybe drop me an email. All of those links are in the show notes. So my first one that I think can be incredibly powerful, particularly if you are a faith-filled mum like I am, you need to be making sure that you start the day with a moment for you. So even if it is just 5 minutes of quiet before the house wakes up, or 5 minutes of quiet when you go and lock yourself in the bathroom so that you can have a space to maybe stretch, to breathe, to journal, or to sip like your favorite drink in silence. And I will caveat the favorite drink part. You would have heard earlier in the episode I was talking about my favorite raspberry fizz. Oh my gosh, that is just, I talk about that being sunshine in a cup. It really, really is. It comes in this little packet. You get 30 in the box. They're individual packets, individual sachets. And it is just like, it's that moment where I come downstairs in the morning, I put some really cold water into my cup with some ice. I put this raspberry fizz in my cup, and I just, oh my gosh, it is just the best. And I personally go and take that into my office. I have like an office stroke gym. I'm very lucky in our home, where I have my desk, I have a treadmill, I have a Peloton bike, and I go in there and I sit at my desk with my Bible and I sip my drink and I just read my Bible scripture for the day. And it sounds incredibly privileged, but don't forget, my daughter is also a little bit older. She is coming for 8 years old now. So she's a lot more independent. So it's a lot easier. And I understand when your children are younger, it's a lot more difficult to kind of grab those moments. But if you are living with a partner, you know, if you have a really supportive husband like I do, they're going to give you that 10 minutes to drink your drink in peace, I'm sure. So just ask for help if you need it, just to get that moment for you. And it really does help you to set your own tone for the day before all the other demands kind of start. Because you, as the home educator, the person that's running the home, you have a lot of demands on you. Okay, number 2, and this is definitely something that I do as well, is building movement into your day. Perhaps not just for you, but maybe also for your child. Now, I have always done some form of movement first thing in the morning, like some kind of workout, maybe a run. I've got dogs. I go for a walk with the dogs. It doesn't need to be like a trip to the gym. It doesn't need to be like a 45-minute workout. You could have a little dance around your kitchen. Maybe you could also have some kind of walk with if you've got pets like we have, or some kind of stretch during reading time. All of these things can really, really work wonders. I always do a workout in the morning, like about 20 minutes, half an hour of maybe like stretching, weightlifting, or running. I also, on the days when Chloe is home with me, she will come for a walk with me and our 2 dogs. So we have 2 dogs who are lying next to me right now, snoozing on the sofa. So I've got a 2-year-old Labrador called Sky, and I have a rescue dog called Rosie. She is a Springer Spaniel crossed with a collie, we think, but she's actually 11, so she's a bit older. But on the days when Chloe is home, we will wait until Chloe's sort of had her breakfast and she's ready, and then we will all go out together. We might jump in the car and go somewhere different for a walk, but we just kind of take sort of a good hour to go and get some fresh air before we even think about doing some kind of sort of like learning, if you like, just to kind of like shake our bodies up, get some fresh air. And what I really find with Chloe then is that she's really ready to learn when we come back, and that's when I often get the best out of her. So for example, Chloe is home with me often on a Thursday. So on Thursday last week, we took the dogs out for a walk. The sun was shining. It was absolutely beautiful. And we came home and I knew that in school they had been doing the topic of money. So we grabbed some resources and we sat down after the walk and we just sat there and sort of did a bit of learning around money and practicing like adding money and that kind of thing. And I really got the best out of her in that moment. So I really am a strong believer in movement before learning, movement breaks in between learning. And I think absolutely like that's one of the reasons why we home educate, isn't it? Is to give our kids that freedom and that movement. Okay, number 3, and this is definitely something that's really high on my agenda. If you scroll down through this podcast earlier, you'll see that there's been an awful lot of episodes around like women's health and menopause. The podcast really was very much focused on wellness, but I've started to pull in this sort of like home educating information into it as well, because that's a huge part of my life and my background as a teacher. So I always say you need to fuel your body like it's your job. And particularly when you are home educating, the likelihood is that you are eating a lot of meals at home, maybe you're prepping like snacks and lunches and things for like trips out, it's really helpful to have a really good plan for your meals, because it's really easy to snack on like leftovers or often to skip meals for yourself, but you need stable energy, and that means real food. So plan your lunches like you plan, your home learning, your kids' activities. Keep lots of snacks around, not only for your children, but also for yourself. Fruit, all of these kind of things that are quite easy to grab, but not high in sugar. Now, I also think as well, like number 4 for me is really about creating breathing room in your schedule. I know there is a temptation when you shift into home education to really kind of have this sort of regimented plan. I struggled with this as a former teacher, to almost want to timetable our days at home, but you don't. And you don't have to cram every single hour. You can leave gaps. You can let your child self-direct. Not everything has to be planned. And it's really important, and this was a lesson I really had to learn going from being a teacher to then flexi schooling my daughter, that actually unstructured time really is not wasted time. And it really can be a place where creativity and rest really do thrive in those moments. And unstructured time could be your child, choosing to do their own activity and giving you some breathing room in your schedule to, sit down and drink a cup of tea, or have a rest and maybe watch some TV for 20 minutes, half an hour in your day. Okay, number 5, as a home educating parent, I think this one's really important. Having adult conversations. I love my daughter. I really enjoy the time that I spend with her. But it's really important for you to stay connected to other adults. And I think importantly, staying connected to other adults who are on the same journey as you. So whether it is like sending voice notes to friends, and I do this quite a lot. I have the most wonderful friend, and I know that she's going to be listening to this, Maria, who is in Canada. She is a home educating mum like me. And she and I voice note each other every day. And it's just so nice. We have similar beliefs. I have a couple of other friends that I also voice note on a regular basis. And that can be really, really helpful just to kind of get you through the day. And of course, joining like home ed groups and things like that, so you don't isolate yourself. Everyone has this perception when you go to school with your child, and I think I'm in a good place to say this as we do both. The idea that you're going to find loads of friends at the school gate, I don't agree with that, because often or not, like we're all in a rush, like particularly children whose parents, are like working, they're dropping and going. Like this idea that you're all kind of outside school having this really nice long chat doesn't really exist, because people are in a hurry. Everyone's in a hurry. So as a home educator, you're not missing out on this necessarily, on this like school contact. I've actually found I've made some really, really good friends who are taking their children to activities. So Chloe really loves to go to dancing, and actually when she goes into dancing, it's given me the opportunity to chat and get to know some other mums. And one of my friends there, we drop the kids in dancing and then we walk up the road and we just go and grab a drink together or a cup of coffee or something together. And it's really nice. It's like some proper adult time. So talking to other adults really does help to keep your brain stimulated and your emotions grounded, and having those conversations that, you know that it's not just you that's going through that. When you think about when you first had a new baby and how important going to like mum and baby groups were, that it's that kind of thing. And number 6 is about protecting your evenings. Protecting and having like some kind of evening wind down routine for yourself. Because when you work from home like I do, when you home educate as well, the boundaries between like home and work and education can kind of really like blur. So it's really important, I think, not to let it take over your whole day. So I keep the resources that we use in my office. I've got some like drawers and things where those sit in there. We put things away, we tidy up together, and then we kind of like shift into a relaxation mode. And you might kind of do that by going out for a walk. And I always think that's quite a nice way to do things, is if you're learning at home and you're working at home, this kind of like transition between sort of like the education work kind of area in your life, you could use, if you have like a dog like I do, maybe you could use like a dog walk as that transition point, and you could kind of build it into sort of your day if you're somebody who quite likes routine. And that's something that I do when we are home on our home days, and then also when I'm working from home doing podcasts and things like this too. So hopefully those will give you like some ideas of practical things that you might want to think about. And I am going to dig into some of these things and talk a bit more about like the routines that we have on school days and home days. I'm going to get other mums to come onto the podcast and share some of the things that they do, because I know it's always nice to like hear and listen to what other people are doing. And I'd really recommend that you go over and like go and check out my social media. I'm slowly plugging away with like building my confidence on videos and showing a little bit more of like behind the scenes of what goes on. So come and shout me out, because I'd really appreciate your support over there. But remember, all of this process, whether you're home educating full time or you're flexi schooling like I do, no one's going to get it perfect. What works for one person won't always work for another. And some days, like your plans won't work, and that's okay. And some days you'll feel drained. Other days you'll have lots more energy. But just remember, it just means that you're a human. So let's try to stop chasing perfection and aim for like a rhythm. Because wellness and looking after yourself is about consistency, not intensity. Now, as a personal trainer, I know that you can't just show up and run a marathon. You've got to keep training and doing the thing over time to get the results that you want. And that applies to everything that we do in our life, whether it's home education or whether it's, you know, having like a wellness strategy to look after yourself. So I really encourage you to think about how you could find some kind of rhythm in your day. I like the word rhythm rather than routine, because I think for us as home educators, we're looking for more of a flow state rather than a rigid timetable routine. So see if you can find some kind of rhythm to your day that works for you to bring in those kind of wellness things. And hey, if it doesn't go to plan one day, then that's okay. Take a breath, drink some water or some fizz, and you can wake up the next day and try it all over again tomorrow, because it's growth, it's resilience, and that's what we want our children to ultimately to learn from us as well. So I hope today's episode was helpful. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. And I hope that something in today's conversation reminded you that you matter too, that your energy, your health, and your joy are all a part of the learning environment that you're creating for your children. And if this episode helped you, I would love for you to share it with another home educating mum, or somebody who might be thinking about home educating or flexi schooling, somebody who might need a reminder to take care of themselves as well. And please hit the follow button, because it does help other people to find these podcast episodes. So until next time, please take care of yourself and keep showing up with lots and lots of love. Thanks so much for listening to Flexi Mum Life. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode, and come say hi over on Instagram at the Flexi Mum Life. If you need a boost, grab my favourite raspberry energy fizz sticks. The link with a cheeky discount is waiting for you in the show notes. See you next time for more learning, mum life, and a bit of fizz.